ready to spring into action. You're about to hear from change makers and thought leaders who are making a difference by embodying their mission. Welcome to Leadership Trends and Insights, a show with one purpose: to supercharge your leadership. And now your host, Nina Segura.
Welcome to Leadership Trends and Insights. I'm your host, Nina Segura, where we create collaborative conversations to connect our company cultures and our world community. I'm super psyched because we have Jeremy Schwach, which I'm so excited that we finally got a chance to talk, because we have been playing phone tag and going back and forth for probably about 2 months now. He's the founder of Blue Tree Network, managing director of Tegria and Girl Dad, which he is so proud of, and lover of diverse experiences. Jeremy, welcome. Thank you so much for coming today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I wonder if my wife would agree with all those statements, Nina.
I'm sure she would, from the little I heard. I know that you moved recently from Manhattan to Florida. Love to have you here. So glad. And you've been so successful so far with what you've done. I'd love to hear a little about what you feel we need more now than ever as it relates to leadership.
Yeah, it's a good question. I would probably have a similar answer even before the pandemic, but I think a lot of things have been accelerated. A lot of things have changed. And, I think fundamentally the rate at which change is happening and the rate at which we are expected to keep up just continues to get faster. And so I think what we need more of now is people that listen, because you can't really make amazing decisions unless you know what's happening. And you don't know what's happening unless you're really listening. And because things are changing, you have to know what's going on so that you can keep up and you can learn and you can change along with the times, or else you're just going to get past. And I think that is only catching up. And in fact, there's some really interesting studies that say some of the most successful people now aren't sort of the experts or the geniuses in their craft. They're just the people that learn faster, because that's really what you need. 30 years ago, you maybe got really good at a craft and you did that for 20 straight years, and that was your career. Well, today, nothing lasts 20 years, right? Technology is changing faster, culture is changing faster. And so you got to get good at something, and then you got to be able to move on really quickly. And that's ultimately, I think, what we need more of now, probably more than any other time in history.
So in order to learn, I need to create space for that, right? Like most of us, we're running large organizations and there's a million things going on. We're balancing that with family priorities and our own health. What I'm getting from you is that the best leaders are ones who listen and learn quickly, and they are able to take that information and apply it.
Totally. I think what I've found, and probably you found this as well, the further you get away from the actual work, whether that means you're climbing a corporate ladder or you're running a company and that company is growing and now you're having to switch off one hat for another, maybe more managerial type hat, you just get further away from what's actually happening. And I think the challenge with that is when you were doing the thing, when you were doing the work, you knew exactly what was happening on the ground. You knew exactly the problems you had to solve. That gets harder and harder to do as you get further away from the work. And so I think the ultimate challenge as your organization grows or you climb that ladder is, how do you reconnect with what's actually happening? And that's incredibly hard to do. I think maybe that's one of the larger challenges in leadership that is maybe underappreciated.
I love that so much. We were talking earlier that, we released a modern leadership assessment. It's modernleadershipassessment.com, based on people like you who are movers and shakers, who are creating amazing cultures. And one aspect of turning one-time buyers into long-term relationships is exactly what you're saying, is having these kinds of leadership behaviors we call cultivator, who are listening and learning, being with the customer, being able to create experiences. Like, you're a lover of diverse experiences, right? You wouldn't even love an experience if you weren't really listening to it. And this seems so strong in you to be able to say, yeah, and this is where I feel like I'm doing it. I'd love to hear a little bit about where have you personally stretched yourself as it relates to this?
Gosh, in so many different ways. So just to take a step back, I met my co-founders well before we started the company. Company was founded in 2012, and I joined them in 2013. And there was 3 of us, and we were literally doing everything. And every time we grew, we added one person on. Ultimately, the hat I was wearing, I was maybe doing sales and recruiting and business strategy and, getting coffee for everybody, like literally everything. And then as you grow, I had to give some of those hats away and had to take on a new hat and a new challenge. And so I would say I've grown probably immeasurably. I probably couldn't quantify the number of mistakes I made through the last, 8 or 9 years. But each of those mistakes was sort of I think Albert Einstein said, I haven't failed. I just found 10,000 things that didn't work. I think that's totally true. And so there's no way to grow without sort of making those mistakes and constantly changing, being okay with that. And now we're about 500 people. And the role I'm doing now is radically different than what I was even doing last year. And the expectation among, from me and among our leaders of the company is everybody has to be changing like that, right? That's how you grow, is you have to figure out, well, I got really good at this thing, and now I've got to go manage it. Or there's a new challenge because of the growth I have to go do, which means I have to learn a whole new skill, and I have to be okay letting go of the thing I was really good at before. And those are incredibly important sort of skills to learn over time.
I just want to honor what I'm hearing, which is humility, your humility and your flexibility. And you said a really important piece about not blaming. I'm not looking for faults here. I'm looking to see what I can learn from and inculcate that in the next iteration of the organization, which you're up to 500 now, which is congratulations. That's fantastic.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it's been a wild. I always tell people the train left the station. There's a lot of dumb luck involved, and then you're just holding on for dear life. That's been the last decade of my life, holding on.
I love it. Well, I'm sure people are holding on to you too. You were talking earlier, and I think we have time to touch on this, about one of your favorite books and how that's sort of influenced your world. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, there's a great book called Give and Take by Adam Grant, youngest ever Wharton professor. He's an organizational psychologist. And there wasn't a lot of epiphany. I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, so I haven't had a ton of epiphanies over time. But I read this book a couple of years after we started the company. And Adam Grant argues that there are essentially 3 types of behaviors within an organization. There are folks that give constantly, looking out for others. There are the matchers, which are most of us. You do something for me, I do something for you. The world's in equilibrium. There are the takers. We all know these people. They will throw you under the bus at the first opportunity if it betters themselves. And what he found was the least successful people, the least successful sort of behavioral type, was the givers, which was surprising to me. But then he finds that the most successful people are also the givers. And the only difference is the givers at sort of the bottom of the threshold just haven't figured out how to not get taken advantage of. And the givers at the top act exactly the same. They're always looking out for people. And sort of the foundation is, or the best analogy is, well, if you're trying to climb a ladder, is it easier to get up if everybody's pushing you because you're always looking out for them? Or is it easier to get up if you're a taker and they're all pulling you down? Of course, it's easier to get up if you've done right by people. And as we sort of were building the company, thinking about what does it mean to sort of be an organization that gives, I think that can sort of influence almost everything. So as an example, our non-competes are pretty light. And we did that because we said, who are we to get in the way, we're a consulting firm, of really good matches? And ultimately that all comes back, right? So we let someone out of their non-compete. We were only 20 employees. It was a really hard thing, right? We're losing revenue, but it was the right thing for Monica, and it was the right thing for the client. And you know what happened? A couple of years later, Monica's now running a big project. Who do you think she called to come help them? Well, it was us, right? So a lot of this sort of comes around. If you do right by people, ultimately they're going to do right by you. And it's impossible to know how all these connections work. So you sort of have to have a little bit of trust that it happens. But I've certainly found this to be true in my life.
Love that so much. Jeremy, thank you so much for joining us. I'm so grateful that you took time out, and it was so much fun. And I look forward to spreading your good knowledge to the people that follow us. So thank you so much. If you're a leader in an organization looking for business or personal transformation, schedule a success call with me and come to join us at Metaspire Consulting, and reach out to Jeremy at Blue Tree Network and also Tegria. Jeremy, thanks again so much for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me. Appreciate it.